There is a saying carved into old temple stones, repeated by sages for thousands of years, passed down so many times that most of us have heard some version of it without ever knowing where it began. Nothing in this world stays the same. Not the worst thing that has happened to you, and not the best thing either. It sounds like something you say to comfort a stranger at a funeral or a wedding. A nice thought, nothing more. But by the end of this story, you will understand why one of the most powerful kings who ever lived needed 5 words carved onto a ring just to keep his own mind from breaking apart. Because power did not protect him from suffering. Wealth did not protect him from fear. What finally saved him was something far smaller and far stranger than anything in his treasury. So watch this story until the very end, and as you listen, ask yourself quietly, what would I carve onto a ring if I knew it had to carry me through both my darkest year and my best one?
A long time ago, in a kingdom bordered by mountains on one side and a wide river on the other, there ruled a young king. He was clever, ambitious, and deeply loved by his people. But he carried a restlessness that none of his riches could calm. When victory came, he celebrated so wildly that his advisors worried he would grow careless. When defeat came, even a small one, he sank into a darkness so heavy that he could not eat or sleep for days. His moods rose and fell like a flag in a storm, and the whole palace learned to brace itself for whichever king would walk out of his chambers that morning.
One evening, after a battle had gone badly, and the king had locked himself away for 2 full days, he summoned the oldest advisor in his court, a quiet man named Bahram, who had served 3 kings before him and was known for saying very little but meaning every word he did say. The king, exhausted and ashamed of his own despair, asked him plainly, "Give me something, a teaching, a trick, anything. I cannot keep living like this, torn apart by my own moods. One day I am unstoppable, the next I am nothing. I need something to steady me."
Bahram did not answer right away. He left the chamber without a word, and the king assumed he had given up on the question entirely. But 3 days later, Bahram returned and placed a small object in the king's palm. It was a plain gold ring, unremarkable in every way except for 5 words engraved along its inner band in a script so small the king had to bring it close to his eyes to read it. "This too shall pass." "Wear this," Bahram said. "Whenever you feel a wave of joy so strong it makes you reckless, look at this ring. Whenever you feel a sorrow so deep it makes you want to disappear, look at this ring. It will not tell you anything new, it will only remind you of something you already know but keep forgetting." The king laughed, half out of relief and half out of disbelief. 5 words on a ring will not win me any wars. "No," Bahram said, "but it might keep you alive long enough to fight them." The king wore the ring out of politeness more than belief at first. But weeks later, after a stunning victory that had the whole kingdom celebrating in the streets, he felt that familiar wild joy rising in his chest, the kind that made him want to announce new wars, new conquests, new impossible plans before the sun had even set. He glanced down at his hand out of habit and saw the ring. He read the words, and for the first time, the joy did not vanish, but it softened. He made no reckless announcements that night. He simply enjoyed the moment for what it was and let it be enough.
Months later, a harsher test came. A drought spread across the eastern provinces. Crops failed. People who had once cheered his name now stood in long lines outside the palace gates, hungry and afraid.
The king felt the old darkness creeping back in, the same despair that had once kept him locked away for days. He looked at his hand again. The ring was there. This too shall pass. He did not feel instantly better. The hunger in his kingdom was real, and the words did not fill a single stomach. But something in him steadied just enough to think clearly instead of collapsing, and he spent the following weeks organizing grain shipments from the western provinces instead of disappearing into his chambers. Years moved forward this way. Wars were won and lost, harvests were rich and then lean. The king's own health rose and dipped with age. Through all of it, the ring stayed on his hand, a small, cold weight that he had stopped noticing most days, the way you stop noticing a familiar ache. It had become part of him. People at court began to whisper that the king had grown wiser with age, calmer, harder to provoke into either despair or arrogance. They did not know about the ring. They only saw the steadiness it had quietly built in him over time.
Then came the year that tested everything the ring had ever taught him. The king's only son, the boy he had trained since childhood to take the throne after him, fell ill during a long winter and did not recover. The kingdom mourned with him, but no one could reach the depth of what the king felt in those weeks. He sat alone in the gardens night after night, the same gardens where he had once celebrated victories, now silent and frozen under the cold sky. He looked at the ring. He read the words for what felt like the 1,000th time. This too shall pass. And for the first time since Bahram had given it to him, the king felt anger instead of comfort. He tore the ring from his finger and hurled it into the dark garden, somewhere among the frozen roots and the fallen leaves. "Pass into what?" he shouted to no one. "Tell me what this is supposed to pass into. My son is gone. What ring can carry that?"
He searched for it the next morning, ashamed of his outburst, but the snow had fallen overnight and buried it somewhere among the beds of dead flowers. Weeks passed. He searched again when the snow melted. Nothing. The ring that had steadied him through a decade of wars and droughts and the rise and fall of his own moods was simply gone, swallowed by the same garden where he had once felt invincible. Without the ring, the king feared he would slide back into the man he had been before Bahram gave it to him, swinging wildly between triumph and collapse with nothing to hold him steady. He sat with this fear for many weeks, grieving his son and grieving the ring almost as if they were the same loss. Then one evening, sitting in that same garden, now warming again with the early signs of spring, he noticed something he had never noticed before. He no longer needed to look down at his hand to remember the words. They had moved somewhere the snow could never reach.
He sent for Bahram, now an old man himself, and told him everything. The outburst, the lost ring, the fear, and finally the strange peace he had stumbled into without meaning to. Bahram listened quietly, the way he always had, and when the king finished, the old advisor allowed himself a rare, small smile. "You misunderstood the ring from the very beginning, my king," he said. "I never gave you those 5 words to comfort you. I gave them to you to train you. For years you leaned on a piece of gold to remember a truth your own mind had not yet learned to hold by itself. The ring was never the lesson. It was only the practice. The lesson was always meant to end up exactly where it is now, inside you, with nothing left to lose, because there is nothing left holding it but you.
The king sat with that for a long time, watching the first green shoots break through the cold ground where his ring still lay buried somewhere beneath them. He understood, finally, that grief itself would also pass, not because his son's memory would fade, but because the unbearable sharpness of those first months could not stay that sharp forever. It, too, was already softening at the edges, the same way every wave of joy and every wave of despair had softened before it. The ring had been right about everything, including the very ring itself.
This is the deeper truth that old saying was trying to hand us all along. Nothing in this life is built to last in the form it first arrives in. Not our victories, not our defeats, not even our grief. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said it differently, but meant the same thing when he observed that no one ever steps into the same river twice, because the water has already moved on by the second step. The book of Ecclesiastes says there is a season for everything under the sky, a time to mourn and a time to dance, and neither season was ever meant to be permanent. Marcus Aurelius, a king of his own kind, wrote to himself that everything is only for a day, both the one who remembers and the one who is remembered. Across centuries and continents, the wisest people kept arriving at the same 5 words the king once wore on his hand.
We treat our best days like they need to be defended forever, and we treat our worst days like they will never end. But both beliefs are equally false. The promotion that feels like the peak of your life will soften into an ordinary memory. The heartbreak that feels like it will swallow you whole will soften too. Not because it stops mattering, but because nothing sharp stays sharp forever once it has had enough time to settle.
Think about your own life for a moment. What is the wave you are riding right now? Is it a joy so big you feel invincible? The kind that makes you want to make promises you might not keep? Or is it a sorrow so heavy you cannot imagine feeling lighter again? Whichever one it is, the same 5 words apply to you exactly as they applied to that king centuries ago. This too shall pass. Not as a way to rush yourself through real feeling, but as a way to remember that you are not trapped inside this particular moment forever, no matter how permanent it feels tonight. We create these wisdom stories because most of us already carry this knowledge somewhere inside us, buried the way that ring was buried beneath the snow. We simply forget it in the middle of our own storms, when we need it most. Through these stories, we try to dig a little of that forgotten wisdom back up and place it gently back in your hands.
If this story reached something in you tonight, please like and share it with someone who is riding a wave right now, whether that wave is joy or grief. And if you have not already, subscribe to our channel so we can keep walking this path of remembering together. I will be back soon with another story. Now I want to hear from you. What would you carve onto your own ring tonight? Write it in the comments and let it become a reminder for someone else who needs it just as much as you do. Until then, be patient with your joy. Be patient with your sorrow. And remember, every wave you are riding right now, good or bad, was never built to stay forever.